Namaskar, I am C. A. Shashi Gupta. In today's episode, I will be talking about peer review broad understanding. As all of you are aware, the term peer review means review by a person of the similar standing, and that's why the term peer review. It covers only assurance services. The main objectives about this whole process is to ensure that the attestation service providers provide a quality service which is about the effective and operational compliance with technical, professional and ethical standards which are being issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, and other applicable laws and regulations imposed by the government. Another objective of the peer review is to ensure that there is minimum gap between quality of services and actual services which are being rendered by the professional accountants. It also try to ensure that the public confidence is increased in the audited financial statements. Further, the idea is not to find the isolated cases of irregularities which may be there in the audited financial statements, but to generally help the various auditors to improve their professional capabilities. Above all, under the peer review, it is not the duty of the reviewer to form any kind of judgment or to sit on the judgment of the practice unit. In other words, the reports which are being issued by the auditor, the reviewer is not required or not supposed to comment on the various observations or the opinions given by the concerned auditor. In case there is any difference, that too on the basis of the various observations and the documentary evidence collected by the reviewer, he should comment in his peer review report. Now, as is the case in all the audits, there are certain inherent limitations. Similarly, here in peer review also there are some limitations. And the limitations of, basically since this peer review exercise is also based on sample basis, and therefore there is inherent limitation that all the weaknesses, if there are any, may not get noticed or identified. And the review is being performed on the basis of the work done in the previous 3 financial years. As such, the work done in the past, it is very difficult that the mistakes will not be repeated in the future periods. So the uncertainty about the future period is again a limitation as far as the peer review is concerned, because once again I repeat, the review is done on the basis of the completed financial years, and nobody can be sure what is going to happen in the future. Now, very important decisions have been taken. Major changes has taken place in peer review, and the institute has given mandates about the implementation of the peer review process. Whereas earlier the peer review was mandatory for the statutory auditors of enterprises whose equity or debts are listed, but now with effect from 1st April 24, and this date is maybe understood as the extended date, which was earlier 1/4/23, but it was extended to 1/4/24. Now the statutory audit of unlisted enterprises whose paid up capital is not less than 500 crores or turnover not less than 1000 crores and outstanding loan, debenture, etc. are not less than 500 crores as at 31st March will be required to be mandatorily peer review with effect from 1/4/24. Similarly, practicing firms which have 4 or more partners are also compulsorily required to be peer reviewed. Similarly, statutory audit of enterprises who have raised funds of over 50 crores or which are covered under Public Interest Entity (PIE), the auditors or the audit firms of such enterprises are also required to be compulsorily peer reviewed. Further, practice units with effect from 1/4/25, the practice units who are conducting branch audits of banks, public sector banks, and the firms having 3 or more partners, they will be compulsorily required to get themselves peer reviewed. Now, one more thing which is important to note over here is that with effect from 1/4/24, practice units who have accepted statutory audits on or before 31st March 24, they should ensure that their firms are having a valid peer review certificate. Otherwise, they will not be able to sign the financial statements of that particular enterprises. So, these dates 1/4/24 and 1/4/25 are important to note. Now, another major change about the systematization of the whole process, the council has issued 10 forms, basically form number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and all the forms have different, functions. For example, form number 1 is application cum the questionnaire, which has been combined. Form number 2 is about the declaration of confidentiality. 3 about the application for becoming an peer reviewer, for that purpose form number 3 is to be used. Then form number 4 is declaration by board and its members of the peer review board. Form number 5 is about the proposed date by the reviewer along with the sample selected. Form 6 is if any additional information is required, then form 6 will be issued. Form 7 is about if the whole process of peer review is to be completed within a period of 20 days and in case certain extension is required, then form number 7 is required, which is required to be signed jointly by practice unit as well as the reviewer. Form 8 is for the practice unit in case they want some extension in the validity of their peer review certificate, then form number 8 is to be issued. Form 9 is the covering letter of the final report, and form 10 is used by the board for any revocation. Now friends, who can become a reviewer? Any member in practice who is having experience of 7 years in auditing can apply for employment as a reviewer. Similarly, any person, ex-member who was in employment for more than 10 years and he has 3 years practice at the time of enrollment, he is also can apply for reviewership. For that purpose, an online assessment test is there that the member is required to undertake, and the validity of this particular authorization or empanelment is 3 years. Means every 3 years the paneled reviewers are required to retake this whole process. Coming on the online assessment test, it's a you see this is online test. Both mock as well as final tests are available on the portal of the institute. Duration of the test is 90 minutes. Maximum marks are 50 and the passing marks are 60%. So it means 30 marks are required to obtain. Questions are on multiple choice basis. There is no negative marking, and the topics are covered are SQC, Ind AS, AS, professional ethics, peer review process, income tax, GST, and then the Companies Act. So it's a mixture of all, and the members are required to obtain 60% qualifying marks. The most important is the questionnaire, which is required to be filled by the practice unit, and this is required to be forwarded to the board for allotment for assignment of the reviewer. Now this questionnaire has 3 parts. Part A which is about the firm information, and this information has to be as per ICAI card, right? Then the details of all the clients is required to be given, and there are total 12 practice areas which are well defined, and all the attestation clients are to be classified in those 12 areas. And the period covered is 3 completed financial years preceding the year in which the practice unit is selected for a review. So it means if you want your firm to get peer reviewed on January, you decide to get it reviewed in the month of January, then the completed financial year are 19, 20, 21, 21, 22, 22, 23. So all the attestation functions the practice unit has done during these financial years will be subject to peer review. Part B has 6 subparts, and mostly the questions are on SQC basis, and the questions are in such a manner that the answers are given in a yes/no basis. Whereas earlier, long substantive, answers were required, essays sort of a thing were required, but now that has been done away with. Part C is about audit quality maturity module, which in short we call as AQMM, and it has 3 sections. The most important thing in peer review is the sample selection. The sample minimum size of the sample prescribed is 10, subject to other conditions, and the size of the firm. And the sample has to be a representative of the total population, and it must cover the cases or the files or the clients of the practice unit which have highest turnover. 5 samples from statutory audit of listed companies, central, state, public sector undertakings, and central cooperative societies. 1 sample from concentration client, and the limit of concentration client has been increased from 10% to 15% of the average fees. 1 client, 1 file each from CSF of bank audit or insurance company, and must include each type of assurance engagement, and the types are maybe the statutory audit, the internal audit, concurrent audit, tax audit, GST audit, etc. And then 1 service from the tenders. If the practice unit has some work from the tender, then that has to be included in the sample. Then the sample must cover all the locations of the firm, whether it is in one state or multi-state. All the locations are to be covered. The work of each partner who is rendering, attestation services, those are required to be covered. All the 3 financial years must be covered in the sample selected, and in case some special advisory has been issued, that is also required to be covered. Now coming to the execution, first of all, as far as the first step is concerned, it is the compliance review of the general controls, and basically it is on the basis of SQC 1. And then review of records. So there are 2 approaches. One is compliance approach and the other is substantive approach. In the compliance approach, there are 6 specific controls, and various standards have been you can place in these 6 specific controls, the compliance of which are required to be verified by the reviewer. Now coming to the audit quality and maturity model, this is a new concept. And basically it is a capacity building measure, and it has been started to self-evaluate the audit maturity of the audit firm, and in case the improvement is needed, then to take further steps. And this AQMM has 3 sections, and the maximum marks is 600, and the answers to these questions are given in that particular format, and the marks to be allotted are also prescribed. So if you have 100% correct, then you will get say 8 marks, and 75% you will get 6 marks, 50% 4 marks, and 25% 2 marks. and if you are not complying, so 0 marks. So the parameters are well settled and there is no ambiguity, and the only thing is the auditors and the reviewer is required to just go through that and tick or allocate the correct marks in the given format. Now, after the verification, if there are certain observations, the preliminary report is given, and in case the practice unit is required to answer the questions or the queries which have been raised by the reviewer, and in case the reviewer is satisfied with the answers, so clean report will be issued, otherwise a modified report will be given. And in case of a modified report, a re-review is required after 1 year. Then final report has 3 annexure. Annexure 1 has 24 points, annexure 2 7 aspects, and annexure 3 gives report on AQMM. Now the final report is to be submitted within 15 days of the completion of the review, along with form number 9, and all these reports are to be submitted online to the board, and the size of the file should be equal to less than 5 MB. Now, some of the important aspects in the last, I would say that the entire process of peer review is to be completed within 20 days, and even the new firms, they can also get their firms reviewed, and there are conditions for that also. Then certain important aspects for practice unit are that the practice unit can choose for multiple reviewers or different reviewer for the branches if they are not located in the same state. So multiple reviewers facility has been initiated. On-site review cannot extend more than 6 working days. Then quality control manual is a compulsory for the practice unit. And the fees which was earlier is a gross fees. Now the fees is exclusive of DA and TA plus GST. The validity of the peer review certificate is 3 years, and for listed companies, EQCR engagement quality control review is a must. That must be completed before signing the audit report, on or before signing of the audit report. The payment of the reviewer is to be required to be released within 7 days. And finally, some points for the reviewers. The reviewer is required to maintain the confidentiality of information under all circumstances, and the reviewer is appointed in the individual capacity. Reviewer can take the assistance of any of his or her associate as a reviewer who is the partner or a paid assistant as per the records of the ICI. And then most important for the reviewer not to carry any extract out of the records of the practice unit. And reviewer should not accept before or after 2 years any work from such practice unit. And finally, the reviewer must document all the working papers for review by the board or any other authority. With this, thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I would request you to please subscribe to my channel and like this this episode. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai ICI, Jai Bharat.